So this is how life gets started. This is a picture of up in the Berkshires of Rob and Kate's geodesic dome they built. It had a rubberized exterior, but notice it's built with all those triangles and everything. And I guess this is us, me and Kate and Rob looking out the front door of their house. It looks all dark and everything here, but it was beautiful. It was in the woods. There was no lawn to mow, but it was really nice up there. This is a view up through the top of the roof that had a nice big skylight and everything. Okay. It's good. So this is what Rala looked like when she went down to her first trip to the Caribbean. And she's drinking champagne there, I guess. Celebrating something, I hope. Yeah, this is the kind of look that I had back then when I went out for an interview or something when I was looking for work. Here's Steve. Always handsome, but with a mustache and a cake. Huh. Here's a picture of old Ringer, which was a J35, very fast, rated 72 on PHRF. Amazing. We went fast. And back then we always sailed in the Spinnaker division, so it was lots of Spinnakers. Huh. Here's a nice picture of Gene McBrayer owned a boat called Spitfire that Steve always sailed on. That was quite something. McBrayer was the president of Exxon Chemical. Eventually went off to retired and went to live in Washington, and he lives on that lake same lake that Bill Gates lives on. He's a flyer too. He has a Beaver, and now he has a Meridian, I think, Piper Meridian turbo airplane. Let's see. This is me, and it's interesting. The guy on the right there is a guy named Dave Doherty, and Dave Doherty was the first Commodore of the Cedar Point Yacht Club back when they reconstituted in the 30s. Amazing. I used to play tennis with Rala a lot and other people. I'm not sure where this is, but I had great form for my serve. Maybe I could bend my knees a little more, but maybe I did a little next second. More tennis. Very traditional. Here's a picture of Rick Graybill, Rala's brother, and he met an untimely end, I'll tell you. And on this trip, he's laying back, holding his glasses in a canoe off to one side. He drops the damn things in the Quinnipiac River, and I actually see, on the sides of the river where the location of the river is. And I dive down and search for his glasses, and I find him. And, we're talking 10, 15 feet of water, and there's no way to see anything. I had to do it by feel. Unbelievable. Here's his daughter, Shelley. Now, she was with him when he met his untimely end, and she met her end there, too, which is terrible. Here's another canoe trip with, it looks like, Rob and Kate Honders. That was nice. Oh, here's another picture of Shelley and Rick on that same canoe trip. I don't think Rick ever really thanked me for the miracle of me finding his stupid glasses. I don't think Shelley had a driver's license at the time, so they would have had a terrible of a time driving back because he couldn't see hand in front of his face without his glasses. That's me in the back of that canoe and Raleigh in the front. Okay, we also did a lot of sailing or skiing. That's Tom Lawton, Suzanne Fastre, Tom Bell, Rolla, me in the Stars and Stripes and Stars pant, and Bill Carpenter. Don't know where we were. Could have been Whiteface. Here's a picture of a guy named Don, I forget his last name, but he was of Dolan Computer. Don and Glenn were the two guys who started Dolan Computer where I worked, and this was the DO part of it. He was something. Here's Carl and Sarah. I don't know who the baby is that they're holding. Could be Jill Schroeder. Maybe, I don't know. So, and here is 20 Shady Hill Road in the house there on the left. That's the door we always went in and out. In Fairfield, Connecticut. And we lived there starting in 1985 and moved out in September 88. And that's where this little guy got his first baths, and he in the sink, of course. Oh my God. Here's the little guy plus the parents. Here's the little guy who didn't know how to breastfeed, and the mother who didn't know how to breastfeed either, but she finally learned. Here's Grandma B with the little guy, and I think the girl behind it might be Inga, our first au pair. We used to put him in this bouncy thing and had to stuff the two little bears in beside him so that he wouldn't flop to one side. This is him looking real good, standing up. But he wasn't really standing. He was being held up by Inga. Here's a nice classic picture of a baby catching his cold, I guess. I don't know. And here's what he looked like after he got his diaper on. Yeah. Babies are cute. There it is. More bouncing with the bears. But we didn't leave out culture. Took him down to Washington, D.C. Here we are at the Air and Space Museum. Now, significantly, at the Air and Space Museum, they have a moon rock that you can get right up close to and everything. And I went over there and had him. I don't have the picture. I don't know why, but took a picture of him with him standing on the moon rock. And it's funny. Some people from the Washington Post came by and said, interviewed us and put our pictures in the paper of the Washington Post about people visiting around the holidays. And we sent the newspaper off to Inga's parents in Germany. I don't know what they thought because neither of them read English. So there we are, me and Inga at the Vietnam Memorial. Here's Rolla and Jesse at the Lincoln Memorial. It was absolutely freezing there when we were there, so that was something. Jesse got early swimming lessons. They had at the YMCA, where you just blow in the face. Pretty sure that's Jesse there on the right, and Inga and Rolla. And you just blow in the baby's face and then just drop them in the water, and they hold their breath, and then swim back to the surface. Sounds scary, but it works. Some more people doing it. Here, I think, is Rolla and Jesse up at Cape Cod. They're getting a little action. Here is me and Inga in Wurtsboro. I guess I took her up for a flight, which was nice. And at the time, around that time, I knew this guy. His name is Paul Spencer. He was a Navy pilot, test pilot. He was actually the guy who qualified the F-4 Phantom for the different aircraft carriers, but not. He said he couldn't land it on the Enterprise. It was just too short. And he also told a great story about the time he met JFK, because they were up showing him how the Sidewinder missile was supposed to work, and he came in and they wanted it all in close, so the drone was right in front of him. Not the kind of drones we have now, but the other kind of a drone, was automatically flown airplane, and he would fire his Sidewinder at it, and then it wouldn't hit it, just fly right by it. And he said he tried 3 times and finally gave up. And when he met Kennedy said, "Well, you guys better work on that." He said the reason it didn't work is because he was actually too close, and the Sidewinder wasn't arming before it got there. There's Jesse with some kind of toys and stuff. Looks good. We also went out to Denver, or Colorado really, for the and we went to a rodeo up in Denver, the National Western Stock Show, I think it's called. And while we were there, June and Joey had a remarriage or something. They were never divorced. But they went through their wedding vows again. So they were always pretty happy people. Joey was a pretty happy guy. I think the guy with his back to us there is Rene Heredia, a flamenco guitar player who was really something. Naturally, my dad got to see Jesse dressed up with cowboy boots and a cowboy hat. I do not know whose hat that is, but the cowboy boots were his. Here, I think, is me and June at the New York Connection, the restaurant June and Joey owned at the time. And that's Joey in the back with his hand on his face, which is a typical pose of his. He was always like, "I have such a headache." He would say. It's probably true. He smoked too much, and unfortunately, he didn't live very long after this. This was in 87, and he died in the very beginning of 88. So that's Joey and Inga and Rala, looks like. Kevin was a young kid then. He was like 12 or 13, but he was still like 6'8". He said in high school the college recruiters are always trying to get him to go to college. He never did. Here's Inga and her brother Kuno. Kuno came and visited with us for about 2 weeks. Here is Janet and Jesse on my shoulders, and my brother Scott. Janet was Scott's first wife. Back to the restaurant, Joey eating and drinking wine. Yeah, probably that same little dinner we were having there. That's my brother Kenny and a girlfriend he had at the time. I think she was a nurse. Here we are, all Kenny, Jesse, me, June, my dad, and Scott. I think that's down in Colorado Springs. Now we're back. Here's what Jesse looked like in his lederhosen that Inga gave him over on the rocks at Cedar Point. Always thought this was one of the best pictures of him. Here's Jesse dressed up to go to Sunday school or something, God knows, at 20 Shady Hill Road. Here is Irene Kaczynski, the lady who rented us the house on 20 Shady Hill. She lived right next door, and she was really nice to us. We used to have her for Christmas parties sometimes. That's me with, looks like Rolla in the background up at Wardsboro, flying that a glider, a Schweitzer 233. Here is Jesse on his first birthday, and he looked like he liked cake. Here is the Toyota that I bought just before we went out to Denver that time. Saw it in the newspaper, and I we asked the guy why he was selling it, and he said he was just settling his dad's estate, that he worked in Japan. And I said, I'll buy the car, and gave him a check for $4,800, I think it was. And he said, how do I know the check is good? And I said, well, keep the car until the check clears, and then I'll come and get it when I get back from Denver. Here's Inge. I don't know where, that's at 205. And she's, oh no, it's not. That's 20 Shady Hill. Looks like somebody's birthday. Maybe hers, huh? That's good. Party after party. Look at all these people. Here, I think, is one of the last picture of Inge we took with Jesse, and this was when she was about to go to the airport and home. Don't know what's going on there, but Jesse finally learned to walk, that's for sure. And there he is with his guitar. He carried that guitar and then another one a long time. There was a guy named Raffy that had all these children's songs, and he used to sing them all the time. Here's the kid, Jesse and Rolla, up in Cape Cod. That time, she's making sure he doesn't drown. Here's a Jesse with his back to us and his rifle and his campaign hat for Civil War stuff. This was down in Newmarket, and actually probably one of those houses way down there is Grandma's house. We used to go there every Mother's Day and see Marguerite, and at the time they and they probably still do, they had a reenactment of the Battle of Newmarket, which the Virginia Tech boys came to, and they had the field of lost shoes, because their shoes fell off. And there's Jesse on an elephant. Jesse with his ears covered for something. I don't know why. And so this is out at Rick's funeral. Rick and Shelley and her boyfriend there were killed in Phoenix on New Year's Eve, 1987, and we went out to Phoenix to sort of clean up the mess and arrange the affairs, and then went over to Riverside, California, Ron's place, and had a funeral for Rick. So, yeah, they were all murdered. It was awful. And actually, a few days after we got back in '88, got a call, and my brother-in-law Joey had died. Here's those famous harmonica pictures, famous in my mind at least. It's my dad's 80th birthday, and they're out at Butch's farm, and my dad was playing the harmonica, and Jesse got a harmonica, and he was tooting on it too. And we have a series of photos up on the wall that June took, called The Harmonica Lesson. It was really nice. You can't tell in these photos, but the temperature was like 105 degrees, and the wind was blowing out of the southeast at, I don't know, 10, 15 knots. And it was unbelievably hot that whole day. It was something. But even with all that, these guys brought in a trailer, a special barbecue thing with a pig and a duck stuffed in it, or a turkey or something. and barbecued it up, and we had a hell of a time. A lot of people there at that party. A few days earlier, or a day earlier, we also had a get-together at some civic center or something in the middle of Colorado Springs. And this is my dad with his grandchildren and his great-grandchildren. So that's Eric, which would qualify as a grandchildren. He was the son of Scott's first wife, Janet, and she he had her before he got married. I don't know. Guess Scott must have adopted him. And then I don't know who the lady is below. One of Pat's son's wives, maybe. And that's Jessie. She's holding. And the other two kids on the right, on the bottom, I know is Julie. She's a great grandchild. All those other little ones are great grandchildren. And then those are two of Patsy's boys there on the top right, and Linda in the middle. There's my brother Scott and June with her hands on his shoulder, and then Patsy there. And here's a picture of the kids and my dad. Of course, my mom was gone. This was in '88. My mom died on April 1st, 1984, which was her birthday. But that's Scott, me, Ken, and Dad on the bottom, and then Dorothy, Pat, June, Pam on the top. Probably the second time all 7 of us were together. The other time was in '79 when it was the 50th anniversary of my parents' wedding. So there's those grandchildren again. I just saw a picture that looks just like that. So winter at 205. It's pretty nice living in the woods. And then along came Chloe, and that's what we call the old Christine up there, Christine Henry. Her dad is the one who painted that watercolor up behind the box here. And that watercolor is the two birds in it it's the backyard at 205, and the two birds are supposed to represent Jessie, the bigger bird, and the smaller bird is Chloe. Here is the old Christine, Jessie, Chloe, and then a new au pair, I think called Maria. Can't remember. Here's Chloe dressed to kill. Oh, God. Here she is in the fall of that year, looking real happy. Looking real happy. Here is my dad holding Chloe, visiting. Happy. Both of them. God, just think that was 89. So, there's Chloe riding my shoulders. There she is riding my shoulders some more, and I'm smiling about it. Yeah, she got to go into the bouncy thing too with help from her brother. And little stuffed animals in the sides to keep her from flopping one way or the other. There she is again. Happy to hold my hand. Yeah, we could even set that thing up outside, and while we were out there working on the lawn or something, and she could bounce. She also got to bounce on the horse. She liked that horse, I'll tell you. She used to grab those two handles on its head, and she would rock that thing so hard you wouldn't believe it. This is just what she used to do, this all the time. It was great. We also got to go visit the zoo to look at animals. She was constantly curious. She always had good eyesight, great reflexes and good eyesight. Amazing. Here is one other thing we had is raccoons at the house all the time, and they used to bring their family eventually. We also had parties for probably birthdays. Looks like Jesse's having a birthday, invited a whole bunch of friends over. No doubt we had entertainment. God knows what he was singing. Parties outside too. That's Jesse and me down at the end, and then Steve there not holding Jesse Tom, looking around, and but not, you can't see her really, but that's Jesse Tom and Kathleen. Of course, Chloe got to see Santa Claus, which, if I remember correctly, scared the bejesus out of her. And she got to play with her brother, and they had toys galore. We had carpet all over the floor there at the house at first. We got rid of that. And spring sprung, no snow. Looks nice. There's Chloe with the little duck walker things that you push along, and the duck's feet flap. And the old Christine's father, Raymond Henry, I think it was, something like that. He actually made those also, and brought them for the kids. And of course the kids all got to go down to the yacht club and play near the water and throw rocks into the sound, try and fill it up. So they haven't done yet. There's Jesse Tom and Jesse, always working. And there's Jesse dressed up like Elvis. Here's Jesse, the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It's funny, I took that picture, and then I was always hoping I could go back and take a picture of Jesse next to that picture. Now it'll be okay. Here's Jesse with his mom, Rala. Both of them dressed up. I don't know where we were going, but Rala always dressed him up nice. Chloe too.